Hi, everybody. I think we are getting everybody logged in here for our Lunch and Learn today, Thursday, August 20th. So hello, good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sylvia Hernandez. I am the manager of Illinois recruitment for Michigan State University. I am also chairing the ad hoc committee for professional development. So that is why I'm here today. And I'm just going to start with a quick introduction and just some kind of general housekeeping details, just to let all of you know this session is being recorded. And just kind of some housekeeping details. You may recall a few months ago, we surveyed membership asking for feedback about professional development. Many of the topics that we're covering during this Lunch and Learn series came from that survey, and multiple of our responses indicated that our members and even some of our non-members we've seen join these Lunch and Learns wanted just a more informal space to connect with each other. So we hope that you're able to kind of discuss some of the things that we face daily as admissions and counseling professionals. We ask that all participants be mindful that this is a professional space, and we ask you to keep conversations both focused on the questions under consideration, which you can see here, and respectful of the experiences of other participants, especially as some topics may carry significant impact with our colleagues. At the end of today's event, we will send out a quick survey. I promise it's quick, 4 questions, just to kind of survey you about the experience. If you don't mind, please take a moment to fill this out because this is our first time hosting an event or a series like this. And then lastly, if you are not an IACAC member or if you need to renew your membership, of course, we encourage you to visit iacac.org to learn more about all of the fabulous benefits of membership. So enjoy your Lunch and Learn series, and thank you for your participation. I will now turn it over to our facilitators, and to start with introductions will be Jill Diaz. So have a great Lunch and Learn, guys.
Thanks, Sylvia. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And we're just Robert and I are really pumped to facilitate this for you. This is something that if any of you know, either one of us know that we're both really passionate about, but this is, like the last two, not a lunch and learn, but really a lunch and let's converse and let's share ideas. But we do have a lot of guiding questions and stuff for you today. For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Jill Diaz. I spent my first 9 years of admission at Aurora University, and then I was with the University of Colorado Boulder as a regional, and now I am an independent. So that is kind of my background. And then while we're introducing too, check out the screen. We have some chats, questions for you to pop in. So Robert, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Or I guess it's still technically morning for 10 more minutes. And as we're waiting, again, like Jill said, feel free to answer these questions as we're talking and admitting more people into the room. But my name is Robert Oliveri. I'm the Midwest Regional Recruitment Coordinator for University of Maryland. So I handle the entire Midwest, but I am based in Chicago. So my affiliate is ICAC. And I'm also part of CAR because I'm a regional. And then prior to this, I was with Southern Illinois at Carbondale on campus, and then Southern Illinois Edwardsville as a Chicago regional as well. So we're super excited. And then I guess we could talk a little bit about our background too. So for me, I coach at a gym called Movement Republic CrossFit. It's located in Ravenswood, which is on the north, a little bit west of Wrigleyville of Chicago. So I coach there part-time. I also do personal training. I have multiple clients, and then I do a group fitness program with my partner. And we do that about once a month at parks across Chicago. So, and that one's called Fitness Pop-Up, or we do Push It events. So, yeah. And today I'll be doing some guided meditation, and that'll be similar to ROMWAD. So if anyone is a CrossFitter, like I know myself and Jill both are, you're going to get a little bit of ROMWAD flavor in that meditation.
We will not be CrossFitting during today's.
No.
Welcome. So we're gonna just take a few minutes, and if you guys can just pop your answers to these questions on the screen in the chat, just so we can kind of get a vibe of how everybody's feeling, kind of, again, what your home environment is, if you have kids at home, if you're alone, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? What are you looking to get out of this session? So we're just going to give everybody kind of a minute before we get started. And then if you could answer those questions and put them in the chat, just so we can kind of see, that would be awesome. If you just joined us, we're just asking everybody to pop some answers to those questions in the chat right now before we get started. People are rolling in.
And feel free to be in loungewear. I know I'm in my Under Armour, which is very appropriate for University of Maryland, but because our
you can send the questions to everybody or to me privately. Doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
Sorry, Robert.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, and I'm like sitting on the floor, relaxing. So definitely.
I'm currently listening to my kids screaming upstairs. You can hear
that.
That
could be tranquil for some.
No, it is not tranquil, Robert. Very cool. Learning tips. Awesome. 2 children, all crabby. Right there with you, Megan. Everybody's crabby in my house all the time. 4-year-old. Yep. Thanks, guys. Keep them coming in the chat. If you haven't already, put your answers to the questions on the screen in the chat. These are great. Just give us an idea of where everybody is. Eight, 4, and 3. Oh my goodness, Audrey. Learning new self-care. Awesome. If anybody has anything else to put in the chat, answers those questions, feel free to keep doing that. But Robert, I think we can move along. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So again, we did our introductions, but again, Robert Oliveri with University of Maryland, Midwest Regional, based in Chicago. And do you want to just...
Oh, yeah, Jill Diaz, those of you just joined. I formerly worked for Aurora University for 8 or 9 years. I can't remember the number. And then University of Colorado Boulder for 3. And now I am an independent. I picked a great year to jump off that train. So I'm happy to be here and just really excited for you to hopefully get some tips today.
Awesome. Okay, so first exercise that we are going to be doing is a breathing exercise, but a guided meditation as well. So like I was kind of chatting with you earlier, but like feel free to be in lounge attire, sit on the ground, maybe even lay down for this, be wherever you feel most comfortable. As much as this is a professional lunch and learn, for this few moments here, we're going to take in and be in our comfortable environment. So feel free to go ahead and do that. I do recommend closing your eyes and laying down on the ground, but you don't have to for that. If you're saying crisscross on the ground or sitting just kind of on a comfy chair, that will be helpful too. But really just find somewhere where you know you're comfortable. There's not any aches or pains or anything. So we're going to start with that. And then once you're kind of in that position, I'll give everyone a moment. And then I see a few people are kind of coming in. So if you're just coming in, finding that comfortable spot, taking a few deep breaths here, closing our eyes slowly if that's comfortable to you. And everyone, a couple more deep breaths. We're going to do a few different pieces to this. The first part is just a abbreviated full body awareness, seeing where our balance is, seeing where we're feeling pains, aches, and finding that present moment. And then we'll dive into a breathing exercise and then end with a meditation or just taking a moment to reflect on the past and look towards the future. So first, we're starting out with the present. In the present, let's take this moment and don't let anyone take it from you. You've taken time out of your day to be a part of this. So let's take 2 or 3 deep breaths in and out and remember that we're right here, right now. We may have things that we want to reflect on and things in the future, but right now we are just in our moment. As you're breathing deep, I want you to think about the tips of your body. So the tips of your fingers, the tips of your toes, the very top point of your head, and just kind of mentally feel that. Squeeze that tight and release it, slowly breathing in and out. And then slowly moving into your hands and your feet. Curl your feet closed, make a clenching fist and release it. Go into your nose and your mouth, wiggle everything around. Get into your neck, swaying back and forth, maybe a few head rolls. If you have your legs out, get into the lower half of your legs, so your calves pulling back and forth, swinging side to side, your forearms. Let's clench calves and forearms and release. And then slowly going into our upper arms, so our biceps and our triceps, making them very tight, making our quads very tight, maybe pointing our toes and releasing it. Still focusing on those deep, deep breaths. And then we're slowly going to go into the core or the center of our body. So that middle heart, the existence of your being, bringing everything in with a big inhale and releasing with a big exhale. And just being very aware of the present moment we have right now. We're slowly going to move into a counting or regulated breathing. As much as you feel comfortable, we're going to start with a 5-second inhale, a 5-second hold, and a 5-second exhale. So you'll just go on my count. We're inhaling for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and holding. And exhaling for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to do this 2 more times. Really balance out your inhale and your exhale to last. Inhaling 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhaling 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding. And inhaling 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lungs are very full. Hold. And exhaling 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to do 2 more breaths. We're expanding the time frame for this one. Just 2 final breaths here. Get those lungs very full and very, very empty. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding that air in. Holding that air in. Your lungs are very full and you're embracing that feeling. And exhaling. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your lungs are empty right now. Empty, staying in that position. And one last breath. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding. Our lungs are full. Our lungs are full. We're holding this and taking in every moment we have. And exhaling. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the lungs are empty. Returning back to deep breaths. Final moments here. Really just enjoying the present moment we're in right now. Now reflecting on moments that you've had in the past of happiness. Think about maybe childhood or maybe something as recent as yesterday that made you really, really happy. And think about those moments, those feelings you were feeling, taking deep breaths, smile. Smiling makes us, our endorphins go up and makes us so much happier and aware of our present. So rethinking about that, think about the future and things that you're excited for. And then closing out in our final breaths here, I really want you to focus on how this session only took maybe about 6 minutes of our time and how we're feeling in this moment. How quickly we can just take a moment, step away from reality, be in our current present moment, and change our attitude, our mind frame, and everything moving forward. We're really excited to go through a lot of next steps with you and how to create self-care. And this is one of the easiest ways to reframe your mind if you're in a difficult moment. So as you're slowly waking up, shaking, maybe wiggling your fingers, your toes, slowly waking up your arms and your legs, slowly opening your eyes and coming out of that. And take a couple deep breaths to come back into our present moment and the rest of our session.
Awesome, Robert. Thank you. Thank you for that Zen.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm happy to do that with anyone at any time. I should say that right off the bat. So if you're ever interested, email me or just reach out, and I'm happy to do that with anyone at any moment in time. It's very, very beneficial.
Deep breathing, guys. I think it's something that we can all use a little bit more of right now. All right, let's pop. Yeah, thank you, Robert. Before we go into some kind of discussions, again, this is, we're going to give you a little bit of guidance, but we're really hoping that there can be some discussion here about some things that are working for you guys, things that you're struggling with. But before we do that, we're going to take a few minutes. I want you guys to get out a plain piece of paper. It could be notebook paper. It could be computer paper. If you have a piece of paper, can you just type in the chat ready? So I know we can kind of get started. This is only going to take a few minutes, but it's just kind of one more little exercise that I have found very, very helpful. So if you are ready, just pop in the chat. Tell me you're ready. Looks like we have a bunch already. Awesome. I'll give people just a few more seconds. If anybody's scrambling to get some paper, do not stress. This is a stress-free zone. Good. Once you get that piece of paper, just type in the chat ready. It looks like we're almost pretty good to go here. I'll give it about 10 more seconds. Get that paper out and pen ready. Okay. I think we're good, Robert. Let's go to that next slide. Okay, so some background. I am somebody who suffers from a lot of anxiety, depression. It's been kind of a lifelong challenge for me, I guess you could say. And I have figured out quite a few kind of things that have helped me. And I think we are living through a time where there are very little people who are not stressed or depressed or feeling anxious or waking up at 3 a.m. with racing thoughts. I think it's a very common thing, unfortunately, right now. And so I just want to share some things with you guys that have really helped me when I'm in that kind of anxiety storm. And a lot of that has to do with writing down my thoughts. So I'm going to put a timer on my phone for 2 minutes. This kind of seems kind of crazy, but just bear with me. I want you to spend 2 minutes writing down everything on your mental to-do list. And I mean everything, like take out the trash, vacuum that corner right there, send that email, run that report, do that query, whatever it is that is sitting on your brain right now. I want you to take 2 minutes and dump it all on that piece of paper. I'm going to start my clock in about 10 seconds here. And again, everything that comes to mind, I want you to dump it on that piece of paper. Ready and go. You're about halfway there, a minute to go. Keep writing, keep dumping things on that paper. Go ahead and finish up those thoughts. So if you're finishing up writing, just take a few seconds to finish that last thing that you wrote down. If you didn't get everything down, that's totally cool. All right, Robert, can you pop to that next slide for me? Okay, second thing I want you guys to write down. I want you to think about 2 to 3 things that you are feeling the most anxious about. Like I'm talking like things that are just sitting on your shoulders that you just can't get rid of. You're thinking about constantly. Maybe it's something that keeps you up at night in the middle of the night. You know, that you're waking up and your head is reeling about this decision or what you have to do or how you're going to do something. I want you to write down those things. Like I want you to literally write them down. Like I am so afraid of losing somebody that I love. I have so much to get done and so little time to do it in. You know, recently, you know, I think like a month or so ago, we were all in that decision if you have kids of whether or not you're going to send them to school or not, or if you're going to homeschool them or how that's going to happen. Those are the kind of things I want you to write down, things that are weighing on you right now. And I'm going to give you another 2 minutes to write that out. And go. Got about 30 seconds to finish up. All right, go ahead and finish up those last thoughts if you're still writing. And we can go to that next slide and I can kind of explain why the heck I would make you write down the things that you're stressing about. Okay, so I have found often that when I find myself in an anxiety storm, I like to call that because it's literally what it feels like. It feels like a storm inside of my brain. And it's often because not of what's happening in my life, but what my thoughts are about it. And there was a quote that I saved forever ago that I thought was so true that I have right here. And it's 90% of our stress and anxiety come from not what's actually going on in our life, but our thoughts about what is going on. I think back to the fall, I was diagnosed with melanoma in the fall. I had a dermatologist appointment and it came back that I had melanoma in it. And I had 2 days until I actually had to talk to a doctor. And during those 2 days, I went through so many thoughts in my head that I was going to leave my kids, that my husband was, not going to have a wife, that I was probably not going to live until the end of the day, probably, like I was having all these crazy thoughts in my head over something that really was going to be fine. And it is fine. It was fine. And I found that when I actually sat down and wrote down like my fears and what I was going through, I was like, okay, Jill, I'm going to be okay. It's going to be fine. But sometimes we get caught in that storm in our heads. And I find myself in that situation quite often. And I know as soon as I write it down, it's almost like I'm taking it off my chest and putting it on paper, or I'm taking it off my head and putting it on paper. And then I can look at it logically. And then I also look at that piece of paper and I look at what I wrote down that I was feeling super stressed about. And I think, okay, if a friend or family member brought these things to me and asked like, hey, how do you think I should navigate this? What would I say to them? And then I give that same grace to myself. I give that same kind of advice and thought to myself. And I think what a lot of us have been doing these last few months is just going through this loop in our head, right? I don't have enough time. How am I going to get this done? How is this going to work? What are we going to do? It's just a constant reel. And the more you can write things down and be in the present moment, and doing the breathing exercises really helps too. Just taking a few minutes to take deep breaths and be in the present moment, not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, but the right now. What can I do right now? What matters right now? That is really, really powerful. I know it might seem kind of woo-woo, these kinds of things, but they really do make a big difference. And I can tell you from somebody who just really does struggle quite often with depression and anxiety, the more I write things down and kind of get them out of my chest and off my brain, it makes a really big difference. So I hope you can kind of take that as a little exercise to help a little bit, that maybe, you can just take 5 minutes when you're feeling like super overwhelmed, make up the list of the things that you have to do, make a list of things that are on your brain, and then make a list of what is stressing you out, and then look at it, like take a step back from it and just look at it. And stop letting it swirl around in your brain like a tornado. So that's something that really works really, really well for me. And I think that is just something that I would like to offer to you as an exercise that I've done quite a bit. So I think what we can do now, Robert, is maybe go into our discussion questions. Again, that was kind of Robert and I's little piece of things that have worked for us. And we are here really just to facilitate some discussion about maybe some things that are working for all of you and things that you're struggling with. So let's go with that first question. What is working well, if anything? What has really worked well for any of you that want to share these last few months, whether it's a routine, whether it's getting some exercise, whether it's a working situation with you and your spouse. My husband and I both work from home, and we have a 3 and a 4-year-old. So those of you who also have toddlers just can feel my pain because they're savages. But what's something that's really worked for you? I will say having an anchor in my day has been something that's really worked for me. What I mean by anchor is something that happens every single day that I protect every single day, and nobody can take it from me. It's been discussed with my husband. I wake up early, he gets the kids up when they're ready to get up, and I come downstairs or I go for a walk. I have reading, I walk, I just do something for an hour every single morning before I jump into mom mode, work mode, things like that. And that has been a lifesaver for me because every morning I know I have that to look forward to. So what are some things that have worked for you? I don't know if Robert, you want to share, if anybody else wants to.
Yeah, I'll definitely share. And I also wanted to say you can unmute yourself and go ahead and discuss it out loud, or you can put in the chat. We're happy to do either or on this one. So yeah, just open forum that we'll go through. For me personally, it's that routine. So it's going to be very similar. And that's what I've heard from most people that I've talked to and worked with, is finding that routine, whether it's you just know or having people that hold you accountable. So it sounds like for Jill, she wants that time to herself and she wants that, so she's going to get it, and she made that clear and made the boundaries, which is great. For me, it's since I'm definitely an extrovert, I definitely need someone to hold me accountable sometimes and have that connection, have that people feeling. So when we were in deep quarantine in like March and April, it was 7 a.m. virtual workouts. I'd sign on to House Party, which is just like a virtual app, and we would do our workouts every morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. So that was, and there was 4 of us. We'd always be there. We'd always work out. We'd chat a little bit. We had a little bit extra time, so we really got to know each other, and then also do an intense workout together. And that felt just really, really important, and it kept my day going really, really and flowing well. So that was the one thing. There's multiple things that I think are important, and I took on some new passions of like cooking and started cohabitating with my partner. So I think there's just a lot there that were changes and positive ways to keep the routine. But I think the biggest thing is finding at least one thing that you know is your routine, whether it's with people or having your own time.
We have some great things happening in the chat too. People are sharing. Somebody mentioned lists. I think it's really, I'm such a list person too, type A personality, and I need to feel accomplished every day in order to have like self-worth. I know there's probably some of you like that too. People going to different houses, house sitting other people, taking walks. Skylar said that their office gives an hour and a half of exercise time, or just an hour and a half of lunch, so you can exercise during lunch. That's awesome. But just, I mean, I sometimes lately will like get something done and then I'll add it to my list and then I'll cross it off just so I can feel like, look at me, I did something. Those little tiny victories have been really helpful. Anybody else want to share? Anybody else want to pop on video and share, or keep sharing in the chat too?
Hi guys, I'll share one. So I don't do this consistently, but I read about it recently and it blew my mind. I never thought of it. We find that when our house is messy, everyone's mean to each other and angry and fast, and I can't get anything done. And so one of the things that we started doing, I have 2 little ones, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, but I think this could work for anybody, even if you're just, you know, if you don't have children. There's one of them right there.
Oh, there she is.
Hi.
She looks just like you too.
But I read somewhere that in the evening, like maybe just before bedtime routine or just before you're winding down, we pop Alexa on. We set a timer for 10 minutes. We put on some fun dance music, and then we all just pick something to tidy up. And so the kids get really into it. My husband and I are able to do dishes or, you know, clear off the dining room table or something. And then the house is much tidier, and with multiple people doing it, it really helps. And so I notice when we do that, everyone's nicer and happier and more organized, and then less mess accumulates, because I notice when it's like something's already messy, then I just like throw it on the couch because there's already a mess there. So we call it the 10-minute dance party cleanup, and it's just
10-minute cleanup, not dance party.
10-minute cleanup. And we have a dance party while we do it, and so it's been really helpful.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. That is great.
Yeah. No problem.
I love that you popped in right as you were talking about it.
I love to make cameos on these things.
Yes. Anybody else have anything they want to share that's been really working for them, that's helped them? Anything that they want to share? There's cooking. Somebody said, I feel like I'm accomplishing something that's helping my family feel better. If you could send some my way, because I'm not a very good cook over here.
I think a good point, and we'll talk. Oh, did I interrupt someone? Okay. I think a good point too, that, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more, is everyone's different, right? That's what makes this world so amazing, is that everyone's a little bit different. So something that works for me may not work for you, but there's a lot of ideas, and this is a free flowing open space to kind of share that and see. And maybe you've already found your thing, or maybe you're still looking, but this is the place to do that. And realize that just because like cooking or working out works for me doesn't mean that's going to be your thing specifically.
Yeah.
Hi, I can see pretty good. But I'm April. I'm from Iowa State. So something like me and my husband have been watching a lot of like cartoon series. We love cartoons and are really into now. I'm just getting into anime. So we're starting new anime series and things. But the constant thing that you were talking about, I was like, what? I know I do something like this and I can't remember what it was. Well, I'm also a huge Harry Potter fan. And there is a Harry Potter game on the phone called Wizards Unite. It's pretty much Pokemon Go, but traded with Harry Potter. So it makes me go outside. It makes me like walk around to get all the tasks done and everything. And that literally has been keeping me sane this entire pandemic. So
wait, so it's like Pokemon Go, but it's like Harry Potter? So
it's Harry Potter themed. It's called Wizards Unite. You catch different foundables is what they call them. You can battle wizards and the acromantulas and all that stuff. All that greatness. Like there's a lot of lore from the book series that's put into the game. And so like just being able to kind of feel like I'm a part of the series now is absolutely the best thing ever. It's a little bit of escapism, but I love it.
That's awesome. I think we all could, you know, escape is totally okay right now. Totally okay.
I think it's really cool what technology has done, right? Because back in the day when I was younger, it was geocaching was the thing, right? And now we've gotten so far that we can pull up an app and do it with our own phone, right?
What else? What else? Anybody else want to share that's working for them, that they've found that has been helping with their mental health? Anything else anybody wants to share?
Okay, I'm gonna stop talking in a second, I promise y'all. But the other thing.
Oh, you keep talking, April. It's better than us two talking the whole time, so you're good.
It's like, this is the one that I'm like, I focus on trying to make sure that I'm going to be okay throughout all of these things because I hold a lot of stress. So I try to exert that in different ways. But for those who are religious or like use a lot of faith-based things, honestly, me going to church because I'm on our praise team. So I sing in church every Sunday. So even when we weren't open to the public, the praise team will still go in every Sunday and doing the music for service. So that has been another thing between that, Harry Potter, which is really oxymoronic, but you know, it's fine. Jesus. Between that, Harry Potter, and anime, it hasn't been as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I love that. And just to add to that before we transition to the next thing is humans adapt. That's what we do. And now we're seeing that we don't love change. We love routine, but we're finding ourselves adapting in this new element of change and different times than we were ever expecting, really. So I just love hearing how people are adapting and, you know, making this the new normal element that they're okay with.
Yeah. Before we go to the next slide, there's a couple of things that popped up in the chat. Headspace is a really great app that somebody mentioned for meditation, especially if you're somebody who really struggles with anxiety and kind of has that like that loop in your head. And I know if you struggle with that, you know what I'm talking about. That just having 5 minutes to meditate every morning really makes a big difference. That breathing exercise that Robert just kind of shared with us earlier. Like, I know sometimes I had a hard time getting with the whole meditation thing because I'm a very like go, 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 go kind of person. And then I realized how much I freaking needed it because I was too much go, go, go in my head. It just really, Insight Timer is another good one. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then audiobooks and, you know, utilizing all those resources that we have at our fingertips. But speaking of fingertips, I do want to mention that like, if this is kind of seems obvious, but if you are really struggling with all of the news and like the information overload, if you are on Facebook, can I recommend taking it off your phone? Because I did that 2 months ago. It's only on my desktop now if I need to go on it for something, but just giving yourself boundaries for social media right now, I would say is probably a huge lifesaver. That kind of goes back to like when you wake up in the morning, like I used to make the excuse, like, okay, when I wake up in the morning, and I'm a morning person, but like I'll wake up and I'll look at my phone and I'm like, oh, it's just helping my eyes open. It's fine. Like I'm just gonna scroll for a minute. But then we are starting the day with other people's thoughts. We are starting the day with other people's stress. And that is a terrible idea. And it's even worse before bed. I mean, like you literally go to sleep thinking about other people's stuff. And other people have a lot of stuff right now, guys. We have a lot of stuff right now. And we just need to worry about what's going on in our lives, not like well, they're having that get together and they're going to school and I'm in like, oh my gosh, and the numbers are up. And there was one point, my husband, he has a 3-screen like situation in his office, and he had the COVID numbers just running all day. Like he just had the screen of COVID numbers. And I was like, you need to take that down. That is not helping. Like, that is not helping my current moment right here. Like, this is not helping me. Yes, it's good to be informed, but I would like to argue that we're a little over-informed right now in things that really aren't helpful. So that's just my little soapbox there.
Yeah. And just kind of the other side, but I think it's very important, is I completely agree with that. If you are someone who feels like social media is like that thing that you need, or like for me to promote my businesses, I'm like, okay, I need to be on there to do that kind, but I've unfollowed a lot of content. And that's a good way to kind of tailor things in if you're someone who needs to be on social media a little bit more, unfollowing people, and they don't get notified. So you're not hurting anyone's feelings when you unfollow. Even on Facebook, you can unfollow certain people or certain content, and no one knows, it doesn't notify that. So that's a great way if you're like, I still want to be involved in that somewhat. But I think for a lot of people, the best option is to just pull away from that. But I do produce a lot of content like what we've gone through today. So if you want to follow me, you're welcome to do that. If you want a different perspective. So,
and if you want to take a break from people on Instagram or Facebook, there is an option to mute. So if you're like, wow, I really like that account, but if it's not serving you right now in this moment, you can mute, and it doesn't actually unfollow the account. It just mutes it for 30 days. I think you can set the timer. So just something to think about. All right. Should we go to the next one?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about what you're really struggling with right now. What's been the hardest? You can answer this in the chat. You can pop in on your video, or not even video, audio, whatever. What has been the hardest thing? What have you been struggling the most? Building the airplane while we are flying. Yes, Teresa, that is so freaking true. We are literally building the airplane while we're flying it. Work-life balance, having to return to campus, overwhelmed and hard to focus, maintaining boundaries with family members between work and life.
Patience. I'm struggling a lot with patience, but I have 2 teenagers and a toddler.
Yeah. Oh,
and
my best of both worlds.
Yeah, and my husband's gonna switch work shifts. He's gonna work, so we'll be on opposite shifts. So that's been really stressful lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, patience. I've really struggled in the patience department too.
One thing that I'm seeing from the last 2 comments that I think is really important, finding boundaries, family member between work and life, boundaries, saying no at times. And I'm one of those people who I definitely started out, especially my college career, not knowing how to say no. And I've come full circle with that in a lot of different ways. But I think one of the biggest things is blocking out time that you know is for you, or for you and people you care about, that's not related to anything else. And then when you say no, it feels like it's because it's for something else, right? So I'm one of those people who want to go and have my schedule completely booked. I'm sure, Jill, you're kind of similar, where it's like, go, go, go. But if you block out and say, well, this is an hour I already had planned for myself, I'm not going to give that up just because someone asked me for something. This is what I've planned in. So planning in those hours. And I think it's also important to realize, now that we're on Zoom and our computer, like today, you're in my home. Even though I'm at work and we're in a work setting, you're right here in my home, and I can put it on or take it, or turn it off at any point in time. I could work until 9 p.m. and I'm still just kind of sitting at home, right? Or I can wake up at 5 a.m. and do some work, but I'm just on the computer at home. But that's very different. You wouldn't go into the office at 5 a.m. You wouldn't stay until 9 p.m. at the office. So when I open this laptop, it's work time. And when I close it, it's not work anymore. And that's a 9 to 5. Maybe there's a night event. I know we're getting hit really hard with morning and night events. So maybe I'll take a long lunch midday if I have kind of that kind of look for my day. But really making sure you plan out that schedule and realize when you open this computer, pretend it's like you're stepping in your office.
Yeah, good. Anything else anybody wants to share? There's a lot of good stuff in the chat. what you're really struggling with, what's really hard for you. I don't know if anybody can hear my children screaming upstairs, but that's what's really hard for me.
Yeah. I'll do one as we're waiting for people to jump on and people are talking. One thing that's really hard for me that I think was interesting and I was surprised by is I really enjoy when people affirm my comments or, you know, say thank you for doing your work, doing certain things, having that face-to-face and that kind of touch and that personal connection has always been really important to me. And when we're on a virtual screen, it's just harder and people don't think about the appreciation as much. So that's something I've had to deal with. It's just like, I know I'm doing good work and just being appreciative of myself.
Yeah. So one thing that's been really a struggle for me, and so I am, even though I enjoy chatting, I've worked in admission this whole, you know, for 13 years. So obviously I'm good with chatting and conversations and that kind of thing, but I am an introvert at heart. And so having all of my people in my space has been extremely overwhelming and extremely exhausting and suffocating. And so having the boundaries where I know my husband can take the girls and I can just like be away has been really, really good for me. But just again, being that introvert and knowing, okay, I'm an introverted person. I need alone time. And so if I have 2 days in a row where I've had no alone time and I have my kids crawling on me and then I'm also on the laptop and I'm also doing this over here, I know that it's going to be bad. I'm just not going to be my best. And so having the strength to communicate that to my husband, like, I am not cooking dinner tonight. When you get home, I'm going to go take a walk. And just being able to communicate your needs is really important. Like communicating what it is that you need and not feeling guilty about it. Communicating what you need and do not feel guilty. You need to be ruthless about protecting your time and protecting yourself right now, because nothing is protected. Our work and our home, everything is kind of blending together. But yeah, just communicating and not feeling guilty about it and being ruthless about it. I have a hard time with that, especially because I'm usually working from home anyway, and I took a work from home position so that I could be with my kids more. And now I'm like, get away. It's a little too much. So communicating needs. There was one more thing I was going to say, and now it left me, but I'll come back to that. Anything else anybody wants to share? I should have said feeling as I'm failing at everything because there's so much that needs to happen. Yes, Ashley, that is so true. Not being available to my kid because I'm working, not doing anything well. This makes me think of an analogy that I've given in a presentation. I don't know if any of you have been to any of Veronica or I's presentations at conference. We do like a wellness mental health presentation or session. And I give the analogy of the bowling ball, right? So like, say you have 5 bowling balls lined up all across kind of the aisle or the lane rather. And you spend all day just poking each bowling ball. Like, all right, I'm going to do that task for a little bit and then that task for a little bit and then that task for a little bit. So you spend 8 hours doing that and your bowling ball moves, each of them maybe move 5 inches, right? And then you end that day feeling exhausted, even though you were working all day, but you're mentally exhausted and drained. And then you also feel like a failure because you did not complete a single task. This is what happens to many people before COVID, before this pandemic. We spend so much time putting out fires instead of just focusing our attention one thing at a time, right? I'm going to finish this task first before I move on to the next one. When I was on the admission side of the desk and I was reading applications, I never did anything else other than read applications during a certain period of the time every single day. Like for 2 hours every day, my job was to read applications. I didn't answer emails. I didn't look at my phone. I didn't answer phone calls. And I would get a lot of angry parent phone calls sometimes, like, I've been trying to reach you for 2 hours. And I would often say, when it's time for me to read your child's application, I'm going to give it the same respect that I'm giving this one. So like, that's a boundary, right? Like, I'm working on this right now and I'm not going to do anything else until this is finished. And then it gives you that sense of accomplishment, like I did something today, right? And those of you who have young kids at home, you know, I have kind of set up these boundaries with my girls, who again are 3 and 4, that like, okay, this is mommy's work time, because there are times when I am with them and I have to get work done. It's happened a lot these last few months. And so I have spent way too much money at the dollar store, and I have like this secret basket in my closet. And so when it's my work time, where I know I have to like log onto my computer for 2 hours, an hour, whatever, they get to kind of pick out something to work on from that basket. Or they get a show. They get one of those 2 things. And then it's like a special thing for them. So like they actually stay entertained. Whereas what I used to do was like, I would have my laptop open just all day. Cause like, oh, I'm just gonna mom over here, and then I'm gonna do something on my computer, and then I'm gonna empty the dishwasher, and then it's gonna be fine. And that is a nightmare. For those of you who know that, it is an absolute nightmare to do that, because your brain is constantly switching. And when we task switch, we're not being productive. So really trying to figure out how to focus on one thing at a time is crucial for your mental health. It's crucial for your productivity. It's just a really important thing to do. And I really recommend just really thinking about what is really important for me to get done, what matters right now for me to get done, and focus on that one thing. And if it means your kids have to watch Paw Patrol or whatever your kids are into for a half hour, let that guilt go. Because this is a hard season, and sometimes we need to give ourselves a little bit more grace on that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add to that, and kind of some comments that are coming in during that, which was great advice. And I love that. Realizing that our work, it is important, but it's not life or death. People can wait, right? So if I see an email at, 4:50, but I'm kind of checked out for the day, it will be on my radar tomorrow morning, but people can wait. And even people messaging me now during this session, they can wait, right? I'm sure Beyonce makes people wait.
Did you just compare yourself to Beyonce?
Maybe. But you all should, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else anybody wants to share? We had one more discussion question, I think, didn't we? No, I can't remember.
Cool.
Okay, yeah. I want you guys to think about this and discuss and put it in the chat, but what is your number 1 priority for this season? Like, really think about this. What is your number 1 priority? Maybe it's like 2 or 3 priorities. My kids are not school aged, right? So they're 3 and 4. So like, we're keeping them home from preschool this year. That was a whole thing, right? Their education is not a priority. Like, their safety, my ability to give them love and not freak out on them, like, and be a good mom and be able to get my work done is my priority. That's it. Being on, 15 different ISAC committees, not a priority. Joining or helping other people with, like, you guys know what I'm saying, like, signing up for different things is not a priority. You have to really figure out, like, what is your priority for this season, this year? And it doesn't mean that you're not being somebody who's like a go-getter and, can do all these things, because right now it's an overwhelming time. So I think we need to focus on what matters. So what is your priority for this season right now? What's the most important? Think about that. And if anything to share, please do in the chat or wherever. Anybody homeschooling while working this year, or e-learning? There's a lot of that. But anybody like trying to figure out e-learning schedules and your schedule, all of that? Yep.
Yeah.
Full homeschool.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Stability. Yes, Justin. Stability is a big priority right now. Just something that you can hold on to.
All right. And I think this is a deep question and really hard, because I'm trying to reflect right now, and I'm like, what is my number 1 if I had just that one goal? And I'm like thinking about all the things that I'm doing and have to do and everything like that. So this is definitely a difficult one that will change too, and you should reflect on a lot. But I think for me, it's having those free, fun moments. having those moments to really just enjoy. And that's also what pushed me to get my work done, right? So then I can get to those evenings with loved ones that I can really enjoy and have fun and let that, be able to relax and recharge.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Melissa said her priority is to be more efficient with her time and stay in a good space at work. Kids are 15 and 11. Safety is valued much more than their education at this point. Melissa, I loved that you said that, because I feel like we are in this like weird time where like success and numbers and being productive and keeping our kids educated and missing on opportunities has for some reason become more important than our health. And I'm not just talking like COVID, like, I'm talking like our mental health. Like, since when is education and success more important than our mental health? It's been that way for a while, but it's really been that way this year. I feel like we're all trying to hustle and push ahead when we need to stop and think about, okay, what is my priority? My mental health. Because if I am not mentally there, and if I'm not mentally healthy, I'm not doing jack at work. I am not a good mom. I am not a good wife. I am not a good any of those things. Actually, I'm my worst self. So it's that old saying, like, put your oxygen mask on first. Like, you have to breathe first before you can do these other things. I know it's easier said than done. It kind of comes, again, from boundaries and whatnot, but it's so important and so hard, I know, but it's so, so important.
Yeah, I think that's really, really key there. And I actually did, about 2 weeks ago, I did a virtual reality meditation, which was pretty cool. We have a virtual reality place in Chicago here, and it was a really cool experience. But one of the things they said is the human mind is truly, truly obsessed with things that they're missing out on, right? So try to focus away of things that you want or you feel like you're missing, and focus on what success truly is to you. So for me, it's being happy. Can I wake up with a smile? Can I go through my day and be mostly happy? And if that happens, then it was a successful day. Whether I laid in bed all day or I got millions of things done, I think it's important to remember what success is to you, not just success in general.
Yeah, lots of good thoughts coming in the chat. Anything else anybody wants to share about their priorities, if they even have thought about that, And
we welcome video screen as well, if you're willing to.
Ashley said, it's difficult thinking I'm making sure I'm being a good mom, a good admission counselor, continue to work on mental health. Yeah, we wear so many hats, too many, so many hats. Staying healthy and optimistic, getting a schedule together so you have time to get work done, keep the house clean, do the things that I love, write a thesis. So, just writing a thesis, April, no big deal.
Actually, that brings me to a funny story. If anyone has read or listened to the audiobook Bossy Pants by Tina Fey.
Yes,
So one of the excerpts in there was Tina Fey was like at her daughter's birthday party she had 30 Rock that she was filming and trying to get the accent for the Vice President Sarah Palin for SNL. So this was a little while back, but Oprah was at the party because I guess their kids are friends, and they were just chit-chatting, and she's like, are you practicing your accent for tonight? And she said, you have a lot on your plate. And Tina wrote, if Oprah tells you there's a lot on your plate, then there's too much on your plate, right? So just think about that. If someone going to say, oh, there's a lot on your plate, then maybe there's too much and there's something that can be let go of.
Yeah, if I could give you guys all one piece of like homework to take away from this, pick something to say no to this week. Just pick something, anything. Maybe it's something you were supposed to go to. Maybe it's like your 18th Zoom webinar that you signed up for. Pick something to say no to, and just don't even think twice and just say no. No is a complete sentence. And I also think during 2020, like I just can't right now, or I'm not comfortable, are complete sentences too. I've had this conversation with family members who have, everybody has different thoughts about how serious COVID is and things like that. And at the end of the day, if I don't feel comfortable doing something, I'm not going to do it. If I don't have time to do something, I'm not going to do it. If it doesn't fit within what matters right now, I'm not going to do it, period, because I have other things that are more important right now. So clearing that plate it's a pretty big deal and really hard to do, but really clearing that plate and saying no to something, anything. Does anybody have any podcasts or like books that have really helped you in the recent months, or just even things that you're thinking about? I have a few books that kind of popped in my mind and podcasts that have helped me with productivity and things like that. Anybody have any that they wanted to share that they've loved? You can pop them in the chat too if you're more comfortable. What? Nobody has time to read? Weird. There was one book that just was released actually last week. And it's a podcast I've listened to for a long time. I don't know if anybody's also listened to it, but it's called The Lazy Genius is the name of the podcast. And her whole premise is to be a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't, which I think is brilliant. But it's a really great podcast. Her podcasts are like 15, 20 minutes usually, and they always cover a very specific thing, geared more towards, moms, working moms, things like that, but they're super helpful podcasts. She goes down from everything from like laundry to like trying to work from home with kids, things like that. She has really, really good suggestions. Happier with Gretchen Rubin. I love Gretchen Rubin. That's been I love her podcast and I love her books. She has a lot of good tips too. Fiction. I'm also reading a lot of fiction, Amanda. It is an escape. Some other books. Let's see. The Anxiety and Worry Workbook. I've never heard of that one. And the Mindful Self-Compassion Workbook. Awesome. I'll have to check those out. Any other podcasts?
I think coloring is helpful too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, it seems like, I used to do that when I was younger, but it is definitely helpful in these crazy times.
Yeah, absolutely. Coloring is the best. Yeah. Oh, Headspace. Audrey, Headspace is like a meditation app. I'm not sure if it's free or not. I can't remember. I use Calm. That's another meditation app that I like. My husband and I both have a subscription to that that we share, which I don't know if it's allowed, but we do. But Headspace is one of the meditation apps.
Yeah. And then
you're right, Teresa. There's different levels. Yeah.
Yeah, Calm, I've heard a lot of good things about and done it once or twice. It was definitely great. The one that I kind of referenced at the beginning, Ramwad, is a range of mobility. So it's actually stretching, but it's very different than yoga because you hold poses for long periods. So it is $13 a month, I think, but definitely is helpful for at least me. And if you're someone who is tight and tense a lot, then that's going to be something that will really not only get you breathing right and kind of get you in the right mental health space, but also get stretching into. So
Ashley mentioned Gifts of Imperfection. Anything Brene Brown, really, it's going to be good. But Gifts of Imperfection, Ashley, I agree. That book is awesome. But any of the Brene Brown books, she's got so much good stuff. Unlocking Us is a Brene Brown podcast. That's a really great podcast. So another one to think about. Any other resources before we kind of wrap things up that anybody wants to share? All right. Robert and I can kind of hang tight, for a while if you guys have any questions or anything like that, or, but really just, some closing thoughts and takeaway. Just, I hope maybe you've learned one thing that somebody else is doing that you can use in a new routine, or just trying to figure out a routine. I think that if I can think of 3 things that I would hope that you would all take away is to breathe, right? Like really take some time to be present and breathe and do those breathing exercises that Robert walked us through. Write down your thoughts, stop living in your head. Just stop, write down everything that's on your head, and you will feel sometimes immediately better once you can get it off your brain. And really thinking about what your priorities are right now. This is not the year to go big. This is the year of less. This is the year of do what you need to do for the most important people in your life and what you need to do. And this is a season. Just really name what matters and what's your priority right now. And take Facebook off your phone. The end. Robert, anything else you want to close with?
Yeah, I think the two big things and kind of mimicking you is one, staying center. Find out where that core is, find out what centers you and gives you that gravity and that space that you need to be successful through every day, that present moment. And then the second piece, really finding out what works for you. So again, focusing on you. That's how we really create our own wellness, is focusing on you and what's going to make you successful and make you recharge and work through every single day. And after this, you know, take a few minutes, reflect on this, go for a walk, enjoy your time, and really have some moments to really recharge before you get back on your computer. Or if this is the end of the afternoon, push a few things back, and maybe you need the rest of the evening to relax. I know I'm not your supervisor, but you definitely may need to do that and step away. I know my supervisor is great about that, and just coming back to it when you're ready. I am going to stop the share, and I'm also going to stop the recording, but we are going to stay on in case there's any one-on-one questions or conversation that people need.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for taking the time for yourself today. You need to put yourself back on the list, guys. Put yourself back on the list before you move on to anything else. Thank you for taking the time.